Welcome to the Benning Report. In this edition, taking the taboo out of PTSD. And America's favorite quiz show is live at Lloyd Elementary. And later, Fort Benning becomes the battlefield for rucks and scrums. Thanks for joining us. I'm Susanna Avery from the Public Affairs Office, and this is the Benning Report. Our top story this edition, the first Veterans Day celebration dates back to a year after World War I, though it was then known as Armistice Day. But the first Veterans Day parade in Columbus dates back to just a few weeks ago. With the help of the community, Columbus City Councilor and veteran Jerry Pops Barnes coordinated the commemorative parade that started in Phoenix City, finishing in Columbus's historic district. Leading the parade were veterans from World War II, followed by the nation's most recent vets, such as the Infantry School's Command Sergeant Major Matthew Walker. More than 70 groups were part of the tribute, including high school marching bands and future Army officers.
You know, this is a very patriotic community, and just to be perfectly honest with you, I thought many times, even before I started this, why wouldn't someone just think of it? And it's just the fact that no one has. And I've seen a lot of veterans that never got as much as a thank you. And so this is a parade that they're watching and that they're hearing on the radio, that they know this is a Veterans Day parade. It's not attached to anyone's name except veteran.
It gives a feeling that the public actually appreciates what's going on. When I see all these people come together like this, waving the flag, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. When you put on this uniform, it's not to get college money. It's not to travel. You put on the uniform and you do the job so these guys can walk around and wave the flags.
In order to ensure that the Veterans Day Parade is an annual event, Barnes wrote a resolution that passed with flying colors in Columbus's City Council. The famous photo of the bandana-wearing woman flexing her arm muscle reflects the women of our nation who worked in factories while their husbands and fathers fought overseas during World War II. Matt Gallup brings the Rosies to life.
Most people love parades, the floats, the crowds, the candy. At this year's Veterans Day Parade, Liz Mitten was honored for her efforts during World War II and asked to represent the iconic Rosie the Riveter on a float for all to see and recognize.
All we did was do our job when the time came, and we didn't think anything about any glory or anything. We just wanted to end the war, get those boys home, and me in particular, I was a war bride and I wanted to get my husband back home.
We've all seen it. The portrait that defined the women of the World War II era, the Rosie the Riveter image was painted by Norman Rockwell and immortalized on the cover of the Saturday Evening Post on May 29, 1943. The painting was at the request of the government as a way to sell the importance of and to lure women into working. Women were called to do jobs such as working the shipyards, industrial factories, and anything else to help the war effort. Organizations like the Rosie the Riveter chapter work hard to keep the memory alive and to remind the nation of the sacrifices these women had to make by doing things like sponsoring a float in this year's Manchester Veterans Day Parade.
Very exciting to be in the parade today. Very much of an honor for me because I'm one of those folks that likes to stay in the background and just watch as things go by.
When the parade began, the streets of Manchester were filled with young and old, all waving American flags and celebrating the sacrifices that veterans have made for this country throughout our history. Mrs. Mitten not only played the role of Rosie to a T, she also has done wonderful things for both the local Rosie chapter and the national Rosie chapter.
Liz is an incredible woman. She is sort of the Rosie in residence for the Little White House. And she was also one of the founding members of the National American Rosie the Riveter Association. And we're extremely happy to have her as a part of our local chapter.
Even though Mrs. Mitten prefers to stay in the background, after the parade was over, she expressed how much the event truly meant to her and how it was an honor to be recognized and thanked for her efforts. Matt Gallup, Fort Benning TV.
Attention Rosie descendants. If your mother, grandmother, or great-grandmother was a part of the Rosie the Riveter movement, please contact Joni Clayson at 706-689-0153. Fort Benning is one of the first installations to implement a program that formally addresses post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's not taught by psychiatrists using PowerPoint slides. A retired Command Sergeant Major is actually the one who is shedding light and hope on an often taboo illness.
And I woke up in the Baghdad hospital, and they was telling me that, hey, you passed out, you was found unconscious.
On his third tour in Iraq, the recently retired Command Sergeant Major, Sam Rhodes, was taken down by a silent enemy.
Being in combat for, at that point, I want to say 24 of 26 months straight, that's, it's self-inflicted, but that's where I chose to be.
Once he was back home, the senior leader did a great job camouflaging his post-traumatic stress disorder.
When I got selected to be the Brigade Sergeant Major of 192nd Infantry Brigade, nobody knew. And I was hiding it, but I was struggling.
Twice, Rhodes said, he thought about ending it all.
It wasn't for great leadership, I probably wouldn't be around now. And I have a special vision and a special purpose. That's why I'm still here. So
Rhodes speaks to units across the country to help change what he calls the Army's culture of silence, even garnering the attention of the Army's Chief of Staff, General George Casey.
What happens when you get PTSD? Are you trying to be different? Are you trying to single yourself out? Or you're not. You're just trying to be able to cope.
That's why Henry Caro Non-Commissioned Officer Academy Commandant Zoltan James has Rhodes speak with all NCOs attending his courses about the realities of PTSD, lifting the stigma veil.
And we can't show signs of weakness, and that's where the stigma attaches. There's a lot of soldiers out there that won't come forward and say they have an issue with PTSD due to that fact. And the individuals that do come out, there's leadership out there that primarily don't want to help those soldiers because they look them as a weak individual.
Though it may take a while to change that impression across the Army, the impact is evident at Fort Benning.
Because every brief that's complete, there's usually 2-3 soldiers that are coming up afterwards and saying and expressing the fact that the briefing brought the complete awareness of the symptoms that they've been struggling with and dealing with, and really looking at it from the perspective of this is not a stigma issue. They need to go get the help that they need to be able to get back on track. If we can save just one soldier through this process, it's all worth it.
A nonprofit organization that Rhodes supports is called Screening for Mental Health. The program offers veterans, service members, and their families information on how to manage the stress that the military life can bring. Their website provides self-assessments for a wide range of emotional issues. That website, militarymentalhealth.org. The assessments are free and absolutely anonymous. As the holiday season kicks into high gear, unfortunately, so too does the flu season. Sergeant Sarah Tate heads to Martin Army Community Hospital to find out how you